So, today I have for you a true sniper bloodshot build. We have the ability to take out enemies one by one, resetting your bloodshot after each kill, and we still have enough damage to one-shot a majority of bosses. This build is slightly less efficient at boss killing than the full kinetic bleed build or the VOD build, but it offers a lot more versatility in weapon choice and gameplay. And in complete honesty, I just wanted a sniper build. I find it more interesting than. If you have all the pieces or just want to copy the build, I will go through it quickly at the start, and we will get into the detailed explanation after, so you can understand how the build works and tailor the build to what you have or how you want to play. Here's the skills. Here's the specializations. And here's the gear. Alright, let's start with the star of the show, Bloodshot. What this skill essentially does is add bonus damage to your next shot based on your health. It is technically a flat damage increase, which means it just adds the damage to the end of your shot. But it has three kind of hidden properties that we can use to maximize its usefulness. First, it also scales off of gun damage and skill damage. Health is the main scaler, but the other two are far easier to get. So there are a lot of ways of getting that flat number extremely high. Second, it inherits the properties of the bullet it's attached to. This doesn't come into play too often, but it is very apparent with the stopgap, which has 750% extra damage when fully ramped up, or the fisheye with 40% crit damage. Third, and this is why I said kind of hidden, because this is kind of obvious, but the damage from Bloodshot can crit. You should be critting as often as possible anyway to get more bloodshots, but it is something to strive for even if you don't get that 33% chance to proc. With all of that being said, there is only so much we can do with pure bloodshot damage, as there is a very limited amount of ways we can scale our HP, so we still want to do as much damage as possible with the sniper shots themselves. The lifesteal combo of Leeching Attunement, Essence Leech, and Blood is Power gives upwards of 90% bonus damage and has the added benefit of keeping you extremely healthy, as Bloodshot's damage is based on your current health, not your maximum. We can't pass up on Bleed ever. It's just too much extra damage. It's kind of one-shot protection. It's good for every situation. And of course, Material Component is good for your shot, the Bloodshot on top of it, and the bleed effect after. Really, the only movable skill points in this tree are the ones we put into Grave Vitality. It is very good, it's another way of getting maximum health, but you're not always going to be at 10 stacks, and like I said before, skill damage actually does scale your Bloodshot. I chose Grave Vitality because it has a higher cap and it is better for mobbing. But if you don't see yourself getting to 10 stacks, or you want to prioritize bosses, Ars Arcana, or maybe even some combination of the two since they do stack multiplicatively, could be a good option for you. We'll go back to the red skill tree here and look at enchantment, because I also think that these 5 skill points are unmovable. You are going to be using your action skill, but only for the bonus damage you get from enchantment, and you get from Essence Leech, which doubles your lifesteal, which means you get double the bonus damage. It's a lot of damage. It's way too good. You technically could pass this up and go somewhere else, but this is like hundreds of thousands of damage on those shots. Use it, you know. Don't change it, bro. Enchantment's good. And we saved the blue skill tree for last because this one has a lot of personal choices. I find this flat damage increase insanely useful, and I would max out this skill tree if I could. But since we have very little room to actually spec into this tree, you don't actually have to go any further than the 5 we put into Fell Inscriptions. Reloading is an inevitability, so an extra 30% reload speed helps a lot with general uptime and overall DPS, but you also get reloading speed from the Leeching Attunement. And if you wanted to change it and all the skill points we have in this skill tree for, say, Ars Arcana, or maybe into just Grave Sights for crit hit damage and gun handling, or, you know, general gun damage, you certainly have the option. You can go into this as well if you want more consistency for crit hit chance. This is also an option as well. You have a lot of options with the blue skill tree. honestly, you may not even have to spec NFL inscriptions at all. I just like it generally to make sure that our Bloodshot is doing as much as it can, but this does maybe 2,000 to 3,000 extra HP, which is decent for Bloodshot, but you get a majority of it from your gear anyway. You could spec out. I keep it. Do what you want. You have options. So these are these skills explained. Let's move on to the specializations. I would say your first 20 points should always go into Survivor, extra health being a direct scaler for Bloodshot, and the best defense being basically free damage, since you are always going to be at full health or one shot away from it. After that, you're kind of free to do what you want. Riddle You This, where is it? I'm blind. Riddle You This is always good, even if you aren't consistently getting the full stacks. Contamination is basically a must-have if you're putting any points into bleed. We don't have it. I'm trying to base all my stuff around 50 points invested. This is what I'm going to grab at 51. I'm going to change how bullets are scared of me. It's not that important with the lifesteal. But yes, contamination is good. You can also spec into bullet train. I really have underrated this one for quite a while. I should know better considering how broken this skill was on Zane back in Borderlands 3. I just went with one shot, one kill, since it is more consistent for chaining kills back to back, which makes leveling a lot easier. Just know that all are viable, and the super end game setup would not even include one shot, one kill. It would likely be best defense, contamination, bullet train, and maybe in the zone or riddle you this, one of the two. I wouldn't blame you if you wanted to play strictly for endgame and you just went 10 points here and then spec into everything else you need and ignore one shot, one kill entirely. But it's better for leveling, so keep that in mind if you wanted to do it and then reset your levels after you get to like level 50. Always the option. You also have a lot of choices here as well. So those are the specializations. Let us go into the final section, which is the gear. And I have hopefully made this build strong enough to be consistent with a lot of different options, which makes the gear a lot more personal and that leveling and late game gear grind that much easier to do. Let's start with the guns. These are the 4 main ones I use, and I have each of them for different reasons. The truck is the most consistent at one-shotting smaller to medium enemies quickly. It has high base damage, no charge, and ramping like the other guns, and a Bloodshot crit will kill most non-boss enemies instantly, allowing you to get another Bloodshot and chain kills until you are out of enemies, or until you miss. The Fisheye has a charge time, but it is shorter than the other 2 guns we have, and it has a crit damage buff that applies to Bloodshot as well. This gun is better for the badass enemies that won't die in one hit from the truck, since its burst fire allows for it to get multiple shots off that each have a chance of applying Bloodshot, and that extra crit damage means that the sniper itself is still going to be doing a lot of damage, even if you don't get lucky with the Bloodshot. And the other 2 we have here are for bosses. We've talked about the stopgap a little bit, but that extra 750% damage on its bullets and the Bloodshot damage on top of it is insane. Something also incredibly useful with Bloodshot is that it converts the damage on the shot into kinetic, so the stopgap can benefit from all the kinetic damage increases we have regardless of the element you have on it. This is insanely useful, but it only really gets here after a long ramp up, which means you are going to have to rely on being accurate after the fact, or that 30% crit from the knife, maybe up to 45% if you've spec'd into target prescience. It also is a pretty big detriment against bosses with multiple phases or invincibility timers, since sometimes it does enough damage to get to the next phase and then just refuses to proc Bloodshot, which can lose you a lot of time if you're trying to target farm. And if we're being honest, this gun is kind of overkill in single player. You are not going to need multiple shots doing 1 million unless you are in a 3 or 4 player lobby. So in most farming cases, you are going to be using a normal purple order sniper. Most likely the Pictoon. This is one I see all the time. While the coolest interaction doesn't work, i.e. Bloodshot stacking on all of the charge bullets you have, all of the gun damage, kinetic damage, crit damage increases we're doing applies to each shot, and they all happen at once, meaning you can do damage similar to a fully ramped stopgap in just one shot. Keep in mind that this is with horrendous substats, so your max cap can go even higher than what I currently have. Just look for the highest base damage order sniper you can find and use it until you find something better. And also keep in mind that these are the 4 snipers I use. Pretty much every sniper except for the Asher's Rise works with this build, and what you use depends on what you want. I picked these 4 to cover all of my bases, but the boom slang is good, multi-projectiles like the ballista or stray work, and the other kinetic powerhouses like the hot sluggers and spread launchers can still benefit from Bloodshot by just pressing the rep kit button. You have an endless amount of options here. As long as it can stack Bloodshot or benefits from it, you can use it. For the rep kit, I am currently using this one for increased damage in the amp shot, and it has the added benefit of having 2 charges. But as long as it has amp shot, this can also be anything. Pacemaker is the secondary one I have. It helps a lot if there are multi-hits that are constantly putting me under full health, but this can be the triple bypass for more amp charges, blood analyzer for specific bosses, or any purple as long as it has the amp. The knife. The ordnance. It's the knife. Let's be real. Everything is going to be the knife. Even post-nerf, there just isn't anything that offers as much utility as this knife. So in any build that isn't doing ordnance damage, it's probably going to still be this knife. Even if you don't need the extra crit chance, it is still very good for its damage amp, which amplifies both the shot and the bloodshot on top of it. The more things change, the more they stay the same. Run the knife. For the class mod, it is our great friend Injected, you don't need the injected in front of it, Undid Eye. The best version of this would be 5-1-1 or a 5-2 split, with 5 points in Bloodshot for the best initial health scaling possible, and 2 skill points in Guns and Needles or split into Grey Vitality or Infernal Sum. I think 1 skill point in rep kit cooldown is needed. It just helps out a lot for damage uptime and more amp shots, but the other point can go wherever. It's not like you have a choice anyway. Vowlictor hates giving you anything good for some reason. The best substat by far is maximum health. I think it is the only place that you can actually get the substat, and more health is obviously very good for our Bloodshot. I didn't get as lucky, but crit damage is a very good secondary. You can also get gun damage or kinetic damage or something else for damage here as well. Your shield is Timekeeper Shield. It is the best place to get health. We are obviously going to take it. And finally, the enhancement slot is also extremely open and depends on what you are currently doing. Jacob's Ricochet or the increased crit damage on every crit are both extremely good if you're mobbing with the truck. I don't have it on me right now. I'll probably show it here. The extra projectile or the increased fire rate are both good if you're trying to do stopgap shenanigans. And the increased damage from the full charge is very good if you're using the fisheye or the purple order sniper. This extends to every sniper or gun you're using. Pick whatever you like and go with it, or have multiple enhancements on you to swap for the perfect occasion. The ideal substats are sniper damage, sniper crit damage, gun damage, really just 3 damage substats. One can dream of one day getting a usable enhancement, but the build really does work without it. And finally, the firmware. 3 points in Deadeye, 2 points in High Caliber. That's it. Deadeye for the crit damage, High Caliber for the extra gun damage. Alright, cool. That's it. Final notes. After the nerf, this build is extremely reliant on the boss having a good crit spot in order to be consistent. If the boss has a hard to hit crit spot or just doesn't have one, then you are relying on luck in order to do meaningful damage. You can move some of your points to get extra crit chance if you want to be a little bit more consistent, but keep that in mind. Also, in order to farm the truck, you need to kill the Bio Thresher Omega. But in order to get him to spawn, you need to do the prerequisite quest given by Beth. You were probably going to do the first one since you need to in order to get the goo to spawn around the map, so just go do the second one and then you can farm him. Hope you can find some use out of this build. Hope you have a wonderful day. See you later.